For science. Hi, I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, and this is Rising Stars. And today, I'm interviewing Easton LaChappelle. He's a robotics expert. He's a 3D printing expert. Easton, welcome.
Neil, pleasure to be here.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I just got to ask, what's your favorite sci-fi robot?
It's bad and kind of wrong, but the Terminator robots were so badass and so cool. And
The guy who's making robots, his favorite robot is Terminator. Okay, let the record show. Did you just wake up one day and said, I want to invent a robotics arm?
Strangely enough, yes. So, I was bored throughout high school, and I was always looking for a project, a path to actually learn what I want to learn. And robotics was just fascinating to me, trying to replicate the human body. And being 14, I didn't have a 3D printer laying around or things like that. The first hand I made was made out of electrical tubing for the fingers, Legos, the plastic supports, and
household ingredients.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is the normal stuff.
So can I try this?
Yeah. So this is the full robotic hand. This is completely 3D printed, and this is the glove. So this has sensors on it, so you can slip that on and then flip that switch, and then we can try picking up some objects.
Okay, there I go.
So this has variable control.
Whoa.
So if you slowly move your fingers, you can actually control where the position of the fingers.
So it's geared in that. I mean, it's
it's proportional.
Proportional
control.
control.
Yeah. Yep.
So let me try the banana. Okay. Putting more fingers around it. Okay. Okay. Very cool. Yeah. Let's do the water bottle. Okay. Now you just grab here.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is the easy one. So
that's easy.
This is in there now. So this thing, all in all, when all the motors are actuated, it's very strong. And that's something that as these motor technology grows, that we almost start surpassing the human strength. And so say if you want to pick up this ping pong ball, you can actually you can make these fingers go to kind of a point. So let's try that.
All right. Okay. Oh, I opened up too wide. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay.
So
Wait. I'm going to try something. Can you put the ping pong ball back there?
Yeah.
Okay. So here I'm going to try something. Okay. Okay.
Nice.
That worked.
Hey, high five on that. That's
No,
awesome.
I'm going to high five myself. Okay.
There you go. Hey, that is one of the few opportunities that you can shake hands with yourself.
Yes, I know. Fist bump.
There you go.
Does your head itch?
I love it.
All right. Okay. So what were you doing when you were 20?
I am 20.
Oh, you are 20.
Yes.
Okay. Well, what motivated you? It's computer technology, it's engineering, it's human physiology.
Exactly. The human anatomy, it's so hard to replicate. And even if you look at how your wrist rotates, you have two bones that crisscross. Now trying to replicate that mechanically is a really big challenge. And so
on that point, it's one thing to replicate the human hand, recognizing the complexities to it.
Right.
But if you were starting from scratch, would a hand be something you would invent as the ideal tool?
No, and that's the thing, is that there is actually more functional kind of grippers out there than the human hand.
Than a human hand.
And so no, it's not the most optimal kind of tool out there. But then I got to the point where there's kind of a line between functionality and then the psychological aspect of having something that is human-like. And that's actually what the current prosthetics are, is that you don't have a single prosthetic for every task. And there is no one universal prosthetic. And that is a big goal of this project, is to make something that is universal, something that's accurate, that you can pick up an egg and not break it. Give them a tool that they can use, but is actually cheap and functional. That's one of the biggest problems with the current prosthetics, is that you pay for the functionality, and that price tag is upwards of $80,000. And something amazing is that it is completely 3D printed, and we made this open source, which means that you can go on our website, actually download the files, hit print on your 3D printer, and it's in front of you. And so that's a really cool business model. It's a really cool way to get technology to the people who need it, and it's something that it comes back to the internet in today's world, is that 5-10 years ago, open source licenses didn't even exist. You could share files.
10 years ago, you were 10.
That's also true.
Don't tell me. Well, way back. So from what you've read.
Yes.
Okay.
And so we're seeing a lot of amazing things happen, and there's a couple reasons that we made it open source. One was the goal of the company, of this technology, was to help people, was to give them tools that they can use to regain independence and functionality back in their life. To do that, there's this whole overlying factor called the FDA within these medical devices. And that's actually one of the main reasons that we made it open source, was to help with some of the liability between us as a company and the users and amputees. And so by making it open source and having them actually create it, it helps.
It spreads the liability.
Yeah, yep.
Risk, I guess.
And it's a way for us as a small company, as a startup, to actually, in a way, compete with these large prosthetic companies, which conventionally you would need millions of dollars, a credible infrastructure.
I was going to ask, what was your competitive edge? And this is what you're describing.
Right, exactly. It's that 3D printing is starting to, it's exponentially growing. And that's something in my life I've been able to experience, is that, the 3D printing was patented back in the 80s, but back in the early 2000s, that patent expired. And that's where a lot of these consumer 3D print companies were able to legally operate and create this.
When I see this, it's still mechanical. But there are things we do as humans that are not mechanical.
Yep.
There's vision, there's smell, there's taste.
Yep.
And is there a direction that this can go where more and more of who we are as a bioform can be replaced? Can I plug something in and I'll be the best taster in the world?
So we're getting to that point, and there's a couple of things that have to happen, and that's the other half of this, is that I can control it, but I want to feel exactly what this is feeling. I want to be able to feel the texture, the temperature, how hard I'm actually grasping something, and we can do bits and pieces of that, but it's getting that information.
That's another
back
sensory
to the operator.
layer.
Right, and we have the sensors. There's sensors developed, but it's how do you get that back into the brain effectively? We are right in the exponential curve, and so there's going to be the massive sensor breakthroughs, and again, it's the innovations that unlock other innovations, processors that then allow more sensor input and things like that. So we're right at that line where every branch of the world of chemistry, of engineering, are starting to really grow and then starting to merge as well.
So right now we think of this as replacing parts of the body that do not otherwise function in a normal way. But why not take it to the next step?
Right, and that's starting to happen. If you look at runners who use prosthetics to have that big spring in it.
Yeah, the blade.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
Right.
That.
So rather than try to duplicate the human foot,
right,
which is like, why?
Right, exactly. There's better ways.
There's better ways and
new
simpler
materials, everything like that. And so that's what is really coming back, is that we are starting to cross that line, beyond human functionality.
So my sense is that you're not motivated by this to become rich, although that could result from it. But the reason why I ask is, if you become a serious competitor to these much larger prosthetic companies, they might just buy you. And then that, I don't know that is a good thing for innovation. The fat buyout check is real. You said you grew up in a small house without a basement. You can buy a house with a basement.
I know, exactly. All the things I could do. So that's a really good question. And so there's actually, I own two companies right now. One is Limited Tomorrow, which is this robotic humanitarian prosthetic side. And that's something that the goal is not to get rich or anything like that. It's to help people with this. The other company is Industrial Control Systems. And so there's a lot of money in that.
There you go.
So
there you go.
I think that answers your question.
Okay. So, what's going to happen the day your robot turns on you? Because it's not just mechanical, you're going to want to give it some artificial intelligence.
For prosthetics, we want the human to be kind of the main processor, right? We want them to do the heavy lifting of that. And so AI can assist with that, but other applications, like we made the full arm modular, so all the joints can be interchangeable. So you can make a giant 20-degree freedom industrial arm out of something like this. And so, we can go far beyond, the human side, but then also implement new systems like AI to.
But that means you're developing a super human. You don't fear that.
I think if it's done correctly, and I think that's something that.
You think.
I think.
You think. That's not good enough. You're supposed to say, I know if it's done correctly, it won't happen. Because there's a lot of people who fear it, and maybe because they don't understand it, and you understand it, so you're.
I still see the good human side, right? That we can unlock a really human potential with this, right? So we can help and solve these problems that conventionally, was just a myth or, an idea, and that's something that's now a reality.
How do I know you are not tomorrow's supervillain? Well,
That-
if you have
right
to
now I'm
think
doing good.
about whether you're not going to be tomorrow's supervillain, then you're going to be tomorrow's supervillain. Okay, well, it's the fun, terrifying, but definitely exciting future.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
this brings. And,
Yep.
and because folks like you are in this world, you can make tomorrow happen.
Yep. Here's for an unlimited tomorrow.
Great having you.
Pleasure.
On the show.
Thank